Year 1971. California, Palo Alto, an ordinary Sunday morning. The weather is clear and sunny. There is no sound other than birds chirping. This peaceful atmosphere is disrupted by the sound of many police cars and sirens. Exactly 9 successful Stanford University students are dragged out of their homes. They are forced to the ground and handcuffed behind their backs. The police follow standard procedure. After all their rights are read, they are taken into custody. They have the right to remain silent. Neighbors in the area watch what is happening with curious eyes from their windows. No one knows what is really going on. Then the police vehicles leave the neighborhood with loud sirens, just as they arrived, taking the students with them. When they arrived at the police station, their rights were read again. They were searched, their fingerprints were taken, all their belongings were confiscated, and they were placed, blindfolded, into cells in a fake prison in Stanford's basement. What could these students really have done? A criminal organization? A bank robbery? An assault? The only thing the police said was, suspicion of armed robbery. Had these 9 successful students with bright futures really committed armed robbery? Unbelievable, isn't it? If you were in their place, would you do something that would turn your life upside down? No. They didn't either. The only thing they did was agree to participate in an experiment conducted by Stanford University professor Philip Zimbardo, and the process that is about to begin would make us question everything we think we know about human nature. Are you ready? Let's begin. The famous Stanford Prison Experiment, an experiment planned for 14 days but forced to end on the 6th day, because things spiraled out of control. This experiment is the story of how normal people can turn into extraordinary individuals within a few days. The question Stanford psychologist Philip Zimbardo wanted to ask was simple but dangerous. Does power change people? How much do roles affect our behavior? Can an ordinary person turn into a tyrant? An advertisement was placed in the newspaper. Volunteers wanted for a psychological prison simulation. From the applicants, 24 healthy, crime-free, normal university students were selected. In other words, they were not troubled individuals. They were ordinary young people like you and me. However, the experiment's director, Stanford psychology professor Philip Zimbardo, did not want to leave any gaps, and great care was taken to ensure that all conditions matched real standards of detention, arrest, and imprisonment. That is why the Palo Alto Police Department was involved, and the silence of Sunday morning was broken by sirens. That is why standard arrest procedures were carried out. An ad announced participants were wanted for a social experiment paying $15 a day, and 75 people applied. From these 75 applicants, 24 students were selected. 9 would be prisoners, 9 would be guards, and 3 from each group would be kept as reserves. A coin toss determined who would be a prisoner and who would be a guard. Prisoners would stay in the prison 24/7 for 2 weeks, and guards would work in shifts with no more than 3 guards on duty at the same time. Now that the prisoners and guards were assigned, let's take a detailed day-by-day look at what happened. Prisoners were given uniforms with numbers written on them. Their names were erased. They were no longer individuals, they were numbers. They were chained by their ankles. How would you feel under these conditions? I can almost hear you saying it's a terrible situation. Guards were given special green uniforms, sunglasses. The sunglasses were meant to prevent them from forming emotional connections with the prisoners. A baton, a whistle, but the guards were not given clear training. They were only told this: maintain order. How they would do it was left up to them. This was the most dangerous point of the experiment. The first day passed in a strange but calm way. The prisoners were not taking the situation seriously. The guards couldn't establish authority. They didn't know exactly what to do. But at night, something changed. At 2:30 a.m., all prisoners were suddenly woken up with loud noise for a head count. Annoyed by the prisoners' lack of seriousness, the guards gave the first punishment that came to their minds that night. Prisoners who didn't follow the rules were punished with push-ups. Although it may sound childish and simple, it was also one of the most commonly used punishment methods in Nazi concentration camps. Things started to become increasingly strange. One guard went even further. stepping on the back of a prisoner, doing push-ups, or ordering other prisoners to sit on their friend's back. For an unknown reason, the prisoners started a rebellion in the morning. They tore off their numbers, piled their beds against the cell door to form a barricade, and shouted highly insulting curses at the guards. The guards panicked. The 3 reserve guards waiting at home were called for backup. Using fire extinguishers, prisoners were pushed away from the bars and the guards entered the cells. By force, the prisoners were stripped completely naked. The one believed to be the leader was given solitary confinement, and the guards developed a new tactic, the privilege cell. Reward for those who obey, punishment for those who resist. 3 prisoners who did not join the rebellion were placed in this special cell. Their clothes and beds were returned. They were allowed to bathe, and they were given good food in front of the others. Because of this, the prisoners began turning against each other. Control was now completely in the hands of the guards. They were allowed to go to the toilet only if the guards permitted it. After lights out at 10 p.m., prisoners had to use a bucket in the room and empty it themselves in the morning. Prisoners began forgetting their names and referring to themselves by their numbers. In the experiment planned for 2 weeks, the first dropout occurred before even 36 hours had passed. Prisoner number 8612 was seen acting uncontrollably, having emotional breakdowns and crying fits. Including Zimbardo, many believed the participant was pretending to deceive them. During the next count, prisoner 8612 shouted to the others, "There is no way out. We are trapped here." This moment became a turning point for the other prisoners as well. They began to think this might not be an experiment, that they were truly arrested and could not leave. Eventually, it was decided that prisoner 8612 was psychologically unwell, and he was removed from the experiment. The day for family visits had arrived, but the guards had become so absorbed in their roles that they were searching the families and enforcing strict control. They were behaving like real prison guards. Most of the prisoners had begun to believe they were truly imprisoned. Some participants had even asked for lawyers. The line between the experiment and reality had disappeared. Rumors reached the guards that the prisoners were planning an escape. All the guards went on high alert. Even this rumor disturbed the guards and increased the psychological pressure on the prisoners. At night, in areas not seen by the cameras, humiliation. They began committing abuses that went as far as sexual harassment. This was no longer an experiment. It had become a power struggle. The experiment that was planned to last 2 weeks was terminated on the 6th day. Reason: control had been completely lost, and the most disturbing detail was this. While the prisoners were relieved that it ended, many of the guards were upset that it was over. Perhaps one of the most thought-provoking conclusions of this experiment is this. These students, who were participants in the experiment, could have communicated freely as guards and prisoners, yet they became so absorbed in their assigned roles that things escalated to inhumane treatment. Years later, Zimbardo said, "They were not bad people. Bad situations changed good people." Now take a breath and think. If you were a guard, would you act the same way? If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe to be notified of new videos. See you in another psychological experiment.